And welcome back, everybody. Rusty here with the Rugby Review, and this week I'm going to be taking you through a recap of Round 6 of the URC, the United Rugby Championship. And this past week we had 2 games on Friday and 6 games played on Saturday. So the first game we're going to get to from Friday was Benetton versus Ulster. We had Benetton 13, Ulster 47. So we've got Benetton in the black ink here and Ulster in the red ink. Now if you got a chance to watch this game, you will have known that this was a game of 2 halves. First half, very close, very competitive between the 2 teams, and it was about the 50th minute of the game. Benetton got a yellow card, and Ulster took advantage of the man advantage that they had and really extended the lead and made this very much a statement win. So if we look down at the bottom half of the stat sheet here, we've got meters gained 382 for Benetton to 561 for Ulster. Look down at defenders beaten, 11 defenders beaten for Benetton, 37 for Ulster. Clean breaks, only 3 for Benetton and 15 for Ulster. Again, just to emphasize the point that about the 50th minute mark of the game, Benetton went down a man, and Ulster was able to take advantage of that man advantage and really extend the lead of this game and make this a statement win. Now the second game that took place on Friday was Dragons versus Ulster. We had Leinster, Dragons 10, Leinster 24. Now first half of this game, very close, very competitive. And it was interesting because there were a couple times where Dragons were actually able to put Leinster under a bit of pressure. But second half comes around, internationals come off the bench for Leinster, pick up the pace of the game, stretch out the lead, take home the victory. Now, possession, territory, very even between the 2 teams. Leinster did have a bit more possession. And as you can see with tackles made, Dragons were the team playing defense a little bit more. Now, this was a very sloppy game by Leinster, even though they were the team doing most of the attacking. So as you can see from meters gained, defenders beaten, and clean breaks, all of those are very, very heavily favorited toward Leinster. But the sore spot for Leinster this game, again, was ill discipline. If you look at penalties conceded, 8 penalties conceded for the Dragons. So the Dragons did a great job, very well disciplined this game. 17 penalties for Leinster. I'm kind of surprised that they won the game. However, if you look at meters gained, defenders beaten, clean breaks, Dragons didn't put their best foot forward defensively throughout most of the game. They probably just tired out by the end. Even though Leinster was very ill-disciplined, a tired-out Dragons team allowed Leinster to stretch the lead, score a couple tries at the end, get the victory on the road. Now our first game from Saturday here was Vodacom Bulls versus Emirates Lions. We have Bulls 33, Lions 43. Very high-scoring game, very entertaining to watch. And it was very interesting because as you can see from most of the stats here, we have Bulls in the black ink, Lions in the red ink. A lot of these stats are going to showcase Bulls were a very strong offensive team this game. Lions were stuck playing a lot of defense. However, there is one sore spot for the Bulls this week. If we look down here at the bottom half, meters gained, 603 meters gained for the Bulls. They're running all over the place. So it's 603 meters gained for the Bulls versus 334 for the Lions. It's a huge difference there. Bulls are running all over the place. The one thing that troubled the Bulls all game, they had the dropsies. So turnovers lost. 18 turnovers lost for the Bulls versus only 6 for the Lions. Too many times, Bulls are just dropping the ball and giving the ball back over to the Lions. Lions are counterattacking. Obviously, the Lions took advantage of it. They were very efficient with their counterattack, scored, took home the victory. So, good job by the Lions, taking advantage of what they were able to. And there was a lot to be desired for this game with the Bulls, especially with how dominant they were offensively throughout the entire game. Next game on Saturday was Zebri Parma versus Cardiff. We had Parma 14, Cardiff 29. So as we look here, a lot of stats are going to kind of be pretty even here. I mean, yeah, possession territory, a little bit favored towards Cardiff in the blue ink. We have Zebra in the black ink. But as you kind of thumb through all of these, nothing really stands out as Cardiff being the dominant team to win by 2+ tries, except when we look down a little closer at the bottom half, penalties conceded. 13 penalties conceded for Parma, which then led to 3 yellow cards throughout the game. You're playing down a man at least for 30 minutes. It's too much time at the professional level to be playing down a man. You're just going to give away too many opportunities, potential opportunities. And I mean, Parma played strong defense to an extent, because despite being down a man for at least 30 minutes of the game, Cardiff didn't have many more meters gained than Parma. And if you look at turnovers won, Parma had 10 turnovers on the game versus 4 for Cardiff. So, again, strong defense played by Parma, but 3 yellow cards will just... It's tough to overcome 3 yellow cards, just to say the least. So, good win for Cardiff on the road, and Parma needs to up their discipline for the next game they're going to be playing. Now, the next game from Saturday was a very, very close game. We had Edinburgh Ospreys, Edinburgh 19, Ospreys 17. Very close game here, and it came down to 2 missed extra points after tries. So, with this game, you're going to see Edinburgh, a lot of possession, a lot of territory, and they were playing a lot of offense most of the time. However, I don't think Edinburgh was very clinical with the opportunities that they had. So if we look up top here, possession, territory, both heavily favored towards Edinburgh in the orange ink here. Tackles made, 100 tackles made for Edinburgh. Ospreys, 196 tackles made. Almost twice the number of tackles made for Ospreys to Edinburgh. However, look down at meters gained. 297 meters gained for Edinburgh versus 250. One would think a team playing with so much more possession territory would probably have more than 47 meters gained on the game than the team making almost 200 tackles. So again, not sure how clinical and efficient Edinburgh was with all the ball they had this game, but a huge, huge defensive effort put in by the Ospreys, to say the least. And again, you can just see big defensive effort. The one thing that I think really starts to stick out is turnovers lost. 9 turnovers lost for Edinburgh to just 5 for Ospreys, giving the ball away almost twice the amount during the course of the game Edinburgh is to Ospreys. So, maybe something just as simple as that, where handling errors and handling discipline by Edinburgh is just keeping this game so close despite having such dominant offensive stats throughout the game. Now, our next game was a very important game. So we had Munster Stormers. This was the matchup, the 1-2 matchup, the top two seeds in the league. So this was a huge, huge game. And if you watch this game, you could tell this game had a lot of intensity to it. So it was a really fun game to watch. Now, tale of two halves here. Munster was far, far better in the first half than the Stormers were. Stormers made a lot of mistakes, gave away a lot of penalties. Munster was able to score 3 tries throughout the first half, and they were rolling. They were very strong, looking very good. Second half comes around, and script flips. Stormers are the team that's playing very strong. Munster ends up being the team giving up penalties and making mistakes, giving Stormers the ability to get back in the game and obviously win the game. So, just obviously looking at the stats from a top-down view, it's, possession territory, both in favor towards Munster. Based off the tackle stats, Stormers were the team that was playing defense the majority of the time. Obviously, possession territory showcases that too. And meters gained, 369 meters gained for Munster to 274 for Stormers. So again, Munster's the team on offense most of the time. They're the team that's making the most meters, putting the defense under more pressure. However, Munster ended up being the team making the most penalties. 13 penalties for Munster to just 9 for Stormers. So despite the bad first half for the Stormers, and despite very strong offensive play for Munster, the second half and the ill discipline of Munster allowed Stormers to get back into this game and win a very, very important road game and solidify their spot at the top of the table of the URC for now, so far. The next game from Saturday, not going to lie, was a bit of a blowout. Connacht versus Hollywood Bet Sharks. This was a very, very, very strong performance by Connacht. And obviously the scoreline shows it. Connacht 44, Sharks 17. Looking at the stat line here, it also showcases Connacht just being a much, much stronger team than the Sharks were. Connacht had significantly more possession, significantly more territory, which forced the Sharks to make a lot of tackles and play a lot of defense. Not to mention, when Connacht was playing defense, they didn't miss many tackles. They put a lot of pressure on Sharks, and the Sharks were making a lot of mistakes as well. So, again, you can see by the tackles made stat, 226 tackles for Sharks, huge amount, to just 99 for Connacht. Look at the missed tackle stats, 8 for Connacht, 32 for Sharks. Just huge discrepancies from Connacht to Sharks here. And I just want to zoom in on the bottom half here and look at 2 stats in particular. Meters gained, turnovers lost. Meters gained, 395 for Connacht to only 208 for Sharks. Connacht is pretty much running twice the amount during this game than Sharks is. Turnovers lost, 0. 0 handling errors, 0 turnovers lost for Connacht to 14 handling errors and turnovers lost for Sharks. The scoreline shows a very strong win by Connacht, and all of these stats here showcase a very strong win by Connacht. So this was a really good game by Connacht here. This was very, very strong performance. And our last game, If you happen to have seen any of my previous videos, you know that I am a Scarlets fan, and it was looking pretty bleak there for a little while. However, the boys got their act together. They played tremendous defense. They finally got the first victory under their belts this year. Very, very strong performance by Scarlets this week against Glasgow. We have Scarlets 23 and Glasgow 0. Now, this was surprising to me because obviously Glasgow is one of the top teams in the URC, and Scarlets had not been playing that well through the first 5 rounds, if I'm going to be honest. Now, what you'll see with the stat line here is Glasgow is the team playing offense the majority of the time. They're running all over the place. Scarlets had to put in a huge effort defensively, and they were a very strong team on defense. And then Scarlets kind of got lucky with a lot of handling errors by Glasgow this week as well. And I think you can see that with this grouping of stats here. So tackles made, 196 for Scarlets to 117 for Glasgow. Again, very, very large defensive effort put in by Scarlets this week. Glasgow, strong offensively, running all over the place. Meters gained. 204 meters gained for Scarlets. That's it. That's all they did, compared to 597 for Glasgow. Glasgow made almost 3 times the amount of yards this game as Scarlets did. However, strong defensive play by Scarlets kept them in this game. Turnovers won. 12 turnovers won for Scarlets to just 3 for Glasgow. So despite the fact that Glasgow was making almost 3 times the amount of meters during this game, Scarlets are turning them over, not allowing them to finish and potentially get a try or work a penalty and try and build the scoreboard that way. In addition, Glasgow was kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, in their own foot. Turnovers lost, 15 turnovers lost, or 15 handling errors for Glasgow this week. So, yes, strong performance by Scarlets on defense, which led to very efficient offensive play in taking penalty kicks when they could. But not the best game played by Glasgow, despite the fact that they were running wild. A lot of handling mistakes that just stopped the offensive flow for them and gave the ball back over to Scarlets. But I will say, as a Scarlets fan, very happy with the results. Now let's move into the live ladder here. Now, round 5 took place about a month ago, and we had a fun 4-week break with autumn international games. So back during the week of October 27th, Stormers Munster were tied top 2 in the ladder, and now Stormers, after this past week, Stormers stand alone at the top at 6-0, still have a perfect record. And there's been a lot of movement. I think one of the bigger movements over the last few weeks is probably Leinster after a very sluggish start. They are now climbing the ranks and now up to 6. Lions are also making a good climb after a bit of a slow start. They're up at 7. Let's see. Italian teams continue to fall, and not much has changed at the bottom of the ladder there, except Ospreys got an extra bonus point win this week, which I guess flip-flopped them with the Sharks in the standings. So with that being said, let's take a look at round 7. Now, round 7 will take place in 2 weeks' time here. We'll have Cardiff Scarlets, first game Friday, December 19th, and then we'll have a very, very fun Irish derby with Leinster-Ulster. And then there will be 6 games played Saturday, December 20th. So that's it for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed round 6, and I hope everybody looks forward to round 7 in 2 weeks' time. And Don't forget about the Intercontinental Championship games now that are going to be taking place over the next couple weeks. Hope everybody enjoyed and enjoys the rugby that's coming up this weekend. And if you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe. If you have any ideas on anything you might want to see, feel free to leave a comment. Have a good one, and I will see you next time.